Let's look at this baptizing the king. Who am I talking about when I say baptizing the king? Jesus. Absolutely. John is baptizing or about to baptize the King of Kings. And we're going to see here how John feels unworthy to baptize the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. He doesn't feel worthy to do this great task. Let's read. I'm reading from New American Standard, verse 14. And then I want to read the New Living Translation as well, verse 14. But first, before I read these two, somebody read the King James.
Then cometh Jesus from Galilee to Jordan unto John to be baptized of him. But John forbade him, saying, I have need to be baptized of thee, and cometh thou to me? And Jesus answered and said unto him, Suffer it to be so now. For this it cometh us to fulfill our righteousness. Then he suffered him.
Okay. Now watch this from the New American Standard and from the Living Translation. One is a thought for thought, and the other is a word for word. I'm gonna see if y'all were paying attention months ago. Which one of the translations is a thought for thought? Which one is a word for word translation? Between the New Living Translation and the New American Standard. Which one's word for word? Which one's thought for thought?
New American's word for word.
Which one is?
New American Standard.
You sure?
Pretty
you
sure.
positive?
I thought it was.
You thought it was? So in other words, you're not sure.
Well, it's supposed to be a very accurate translation, and I think the other one's a looser thought kind of thing. I would say that's what I think. I might be wrong,
Okay.
but I think that.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? Want to tap into this? That you're sure that one's a little translation of word for word, and that one's a thought for thought? Anybody want to tap into that? Nobody wants to tap into that? Nobody's sure? Huh? You sure she's right? You sure she's right? So you sure that the New American Standard is word for word? And you sure that the Living Translation is a thought for thought? You sure? Okay. Anybody else? Nobody else is sure? Is Deacon Jalen Ross is sure? As Sister Morgan is somewhat sure? With a trace of uncertainty? I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. I'm asking this question in a moment. I'll tell you in a moment. Nobody else is sure? Then you got some people who really put on the device to see if it's really which one's which. Is that right? I see the blue light and the clear light flashing from out the left, so I know some people are looking. So you want me to tell y'all which one it is?
Please, sir.
He says, please, sir. All right. I am sure without a shadow of a doubt that the New American Standard is a word-for-word translation. I am sure without a shadow of a doubt that the Living Translation is a thought-for-thought translation, where it is by men's thought. Not that they were wrong, but men's thought, opposed to what word for word is. And the reason why I did that, I asked you this question, because some people will ask you which one is literal and which one is another translation. So I just want you to know certain which one's which. So if somebody asks you, you can say without a doubt, this is this and this is that. Yes. So I'm going to give you, first of all, the word-for-word translation, which is the New American Standard. But John tried to prevent him, saying, I have need, watch this, to be baptized by you. Now watch what John said. John said that Jesus is saying, John, I need you to baptize me. So John is trying to prevent him from baptizing Jesus. He said, matter of fact, Jesus, you need to baptize me. And I see something in the text here. I see something in this portion of the text. I see humility from John. Now notice John is a forerunner. John is on the scene before Christ came on the scene. So he was to pave the way for Jesus. And he could have been arrogant. But he says, no, in essence, he was saying, I'm not worthy, Jesus, to even baptize you. Matter of fact, you ought to be baptizing me, Jesus. Watch what the rest of it says. And do you come to me? Verse 15. Jesus answering, saying to him, permit, allow it at this time. In other words, don't waste no time. I need you to do it right now. Watch what else he says. For in this way, it is fitting for us to fulfill all righteousness. John, it is God's will that you baptize me. We'll get into 16 and 17, and I'm going to show you something else in the text too. He's telling John it is the fulfillment of righteousness. It has already been set in stone that you baptize me. Not that I baptize you, but that you baptize me. Watch what the Living Translation says. He says this. I forgot to get these numbers on the inside, not on the edges. But John tried to talk him out of it. I am the one who needs to be baptized by you, he said. So why are you coming to me? 15. But Jesus said, it should be done, for we must carry out all God's requirements. Not some of them, but all God's requirements. So John agreed to baptize him. Notice what he says in the New Living Translation. He says, to fulfill all his requirements. The New American Standard says this, to fulfill all righteousness. To do everything that is right. To do all that is right. Jesus talking here. He said in John this. Now, before I go to 16, John was absolutely shocked when Jesus, the King himself, appeared in the crowd and asked to be baptized. This was not a private event. This was not a private event. It was a public event. And the reason it was a public event because Jesus was to show them an example of baptism. And I'll go further in a moment. Crowd to be baptized. Surely if anyone did not need a baptism of repentance, it was the Messiah, the sinless Son of God. Now, did I read verse? Yeah, I did read both of them. Listen to this. But Jesus answered and said, permit me, allow me, because you must fulfill the righteousness, all righteousness of God. And then John allows him, or allows Jesus, or allows himself to baptize the King of Kings. Anybody want to add to this before I go to 16, 17?
Also, you understand why John didn't feel worthy to baptize the king.
Yes.
Yeah, that's normal.
And as I said earlier, John could have been arrogant.